Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. I've already done a presentation with a focus on Hitler as a key factor, if not the key factor, in explaining World War II. Well, I'm going to complement that with two presentations highlighting the significance of what Hitler did. This first one will focus on rearmament, the remilitarisation of the Rhineland and the Spanish Civil War. Rearmament was of course significant because it enabled Hitler to do everything else. At any point his moves could have been challenged, so the stronger Germany became, the more it would be able to face down any challenge. Germany had been rearming secretly for a long time before Hitler came to power. You will recall the Apollo Treaty of 1922. And of course, Hitler continued the process. But his first international act on becoming Chancellor in 1933 was to demand equality for Germany at the League of Nations Disarmament Conference. That his demand was denied allowed him to walk out of the conference and out of the League. And that was significant because it left him relatively free to do as he pleased. That said, what was also significant was that he then went public. In March 1935, he let the world know that Germany had increased its army to 300,000 men, and he announced a return to conscription. Göring also announced that Germany had an air force, while the Anglo-German Naval Treaty, announced in June 1935, allowed Germany to increase its navy up to 35% of the size of the British Navy, 45% when it came to submarines. It all made Germany stronger, and Hitler's position as leader of Germany stronger too. Hitler's next move was to remilitarise the Rhineland. Along with rearmament, it would show the German people that he was determined to break the Treaty of Versailles. So it also helped him strengthen his grip on power. It would make him more popular with the German people, and it would win over the army, and they would trust his judgment much more. In the process, it would test just how far Britain and France, or the League, were prepared to go to uphold the treaty. And strategically, it would strengthen Germany's western border with France, which would take away the fear of a French attack at his rear if he made other moves, which he intended to do. So again, it was very significant. The Spanish Civil War was itself significant because it reflected the divide that was consuming the rest of Europe. Liberal democracy versus dictatorship of one kind or another. It was also significant because it further widened the divide between Stalin's Soviet Union and the democracies of Britain and France, when an anti-fascist alliance could have been formed. This was what Stalin wanted, and we can form a link between the Spanish Civil War via Munich to the Nazi-Soviet Pact. It couldn't be seen at the time, but it can by historians. What's more, France, now squeezed top and tail by fascist or fascist-like powers across its borders, would think even more carefully about war with Germany. While the ties between Mussolini and Hitler had only been strengthened, the Rome-Berlin axis was formed the year the Civil War began, the Pact of Steel the year it ended. Strategically, it would weaken British and French influence in the Mediterranean, while strengthening Italy's position, even if not as much as had been hoped. Gibraltar was not taken by Franco, and Spain remained neutral in World War II, but nobody was to know that in 1939. but it still should have made it a lot easier for Mussolini to grab his Mediterranean empire. Whilst the alternative, a left-leaning Spain, would have been as big a disadvantage to the fascist powers as a right-leaning Spain would be advantageous. And of great benefit to the German war machine was the iron ore, pyrites used in explosives, and other valuable war materials that the Germans received in return for its support. Hitler also saw the chance to test Germany's military hardware and give his armed forces some combat experience too. Notably, it gave them a chance to test blitzkrieg tactics and carpet bombing. Also, all the time, it would divert the attention of Britain and France, as well as the League of Nations, from his plans for Central Europe. While the war went on in Spain, Germany joined with Austria, and Hitler had also acquired most of Czechoslovakia. And through all these major events, the League of Nations was shown to be utterly powerless. You will have noticed that the reasons for Hitler and Mussolini doing what they didn't always play out the way they had hoped. But that doesn't change the fact that it motivated them to do what they did. What you also need to give some thought to, though, is the degree of significance you give to each of these things Hitler did. Extremely significant, highly significant, very significant. But for me, my job is done, except to thank you for listening and remind you that you can make more use of me if you want. There's my website, History Made Easier, my ebooks on Amazon, and there may be a slot for tutorials if you're interested. Just drop me a line at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, or get your parents to, and we'll see if we can sort something out. Cheers.